Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here, Fitness Mentoring with Daniel Stone. Today we're going to be talking about one of the best things you can do to improve your shoulder health. This book is written by Dr. John Kirsch. He's a board-certified orthopedic surgeon. This book is called Shoulder Pain, the Solution and Prevention. And in this book, Dr. Kirsch talks about what is the most important thing you can do to improve your shoulder health without using pills, surgery, or other therapies. Dr. Kirsch, he used to perform a lot of shoulder surgeries until he discovered that you can actually reshape the structures in your shoulder joint and create more space for mobility and prevent the three most common shoulder injuries. Mostly because of neglect and just basic underuse. Most people don't practice hanging or brachiating, which is the technical term for swinging from branches or monkey bars. Something that the human body is designed to do. We evolved to hang a lot. And because so many people don't do that regularly now, we've developed this pandemic of developing unnecessary shoulder injuries that are totally preventable. The three most common shoulder injuries are subacromial impingement syndrome, adhesive capsulitis, also known as frozen shoulder, and pinching or tearing of rotator cuff tendons, the main muscles that stabilize the shoulder joint. So before we go further, we need to talk a little bit about shoulder anatomy, just so you guys understand how this works and why it'll be so effective for you. How's it going?
Good.
Looking good. So here's a quick diagram of the shoulder joint. You can tell here this is the humerus bone and this is the scapula, also known as the shoulder blade. So a couple main points to understand here. The clavicle would be right there. So a couple joints here in the shoulder. The shoulder is not one joint. There's the acromioclavicular joint right there. There's the glenohumeral joint, which is right in there. That's where the humerus attaches to the scapula. We have the acromion process. A process is just like a bony prominence. Right here, that's that bony prominence you can feel right there on the top of your shoulder. The coracoid process, which is right in here underneath the clavicle or the collarbone. And there's this ligament right here. It's called the coracoacromial ligament because it connects the coracoid process to the acromion process. We have a few rotator cuff tendons coming underneath this subacromial space. What happens over time if you don't practice overhead shoulder movements or hanging regularly, over time with the neglect, this acromion process, there's an arch right here. And over time that arch can cave down. And that's when people develop subacromial impingement syndromes, because the space underneath here is literally getting smaller. It's getting compressed and pushed down over time with gravity and with the neglect. And that can cause a lot of problems, and it can be very uncomfortable. You can lose a lot of your shoulder mobility over time as you age. You should be able to get your arm into full flexion. But as this arch collapses, it's like you can't get your shoulder up, and it might be really painful. With hanging, you can actually reshape this arch, the coracoacromial arch. So here is a diagram of the shoulder with the humerus in flexion now. This is the acromion process here. And here's the glenohumeral joint, just so we can orient ourselves. Rotator cuff tendons would be coming in right under here in the subacromial space. There's this joint, the acromiohumeral joint. This joint is not always there. It's only there when the humerus is elevated like this, and the bones will contact here. So this is called the acromiohumeral joint. You don't learn this in anatomy classes. And Dr. Kirsch says this a lot in his book, how no one else teaches about this joint. But this joint is real, and this joint is the key to why the hanging protocol is going to be effective in the first place. When you're hanging, the humerus pushes up against the acromion process, and it can actually push it back and reshape the coracoacromial arch, or the CA arch here, and create more space for those tendons and stretch out that coracoacromial ligament. The reason that works is because there's a principle called Wolff's Law, which basically states that bone is living tissue and it can adapt to stresses put upon it. So when you hang, it can reshape and heal and maintain the health of your shoulder joint. If you are interested in learning more of the details and the science behind how and why this works, you can read the book for yourself. It only costs about $10 on Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description for you guys. So how does the hanging protocol actually work? Ideally, you'll have a pull-up bar that you can use to hang from. Really, it should be called a hanging bar, not a pull-up bar, because you'll use it mostly to hang from now on. What you'll do is, the key is to make it a passive hang. So notice how I'm pulling down here, right now I'm pulling down on my shoulders. You want to relax all your muscles and just let gravity stretch you out. That's called a passive hang. The only muscles that you're really going to be contracting here are your grip muscles, so you can hang onto the bar. The reason you want it to be a passive hang is because if it's an active hang, the humerus won't be pressing up against the acromion as much. So you'll get a better effect if it's a passive hang. For beginners, you don't have to hang with your full body weight. You can do a partial hang. If it's higher up, you can just put a chair in front of you and take off some body weight using that chair. Practice using both arms, but also practice one arm at a time. And something you can do while you're hanging is push your ribs, your chest, a little forward. Like lean into it a little bit, and that'll just help push the acromion process back a little bit. One key here is you need to make sure you're using a pronated grip, or palms away from you, in other words, as opposed to a supinated grip or a neutral grip. And the reason is because when your hand is pronated, your shoulder is more likely to get more flexion. If it was supinated, it's more angled this way, as you can see. So make sure you use a pronated grip. As you practice hanging, you'll probably develop calluses, but there are things you can do to help protect the skin on your hands anyway. One thing you can do is you can get a grip like this that'll cover the skin on your palm, and this will also help support the wrist because of this wrist strap. You could also get something more like a gymnastics grip, or you could also use weightlifting straps. And you can actually wrap this around the bar, and then it'll just support your wrist there. And that way you don't have to worry about squeezing your grip so hard. Some people don't have the strongest grips, and that's totally fine. There are also, on Amazon, you can buy like hanging hook grips. Those are just a couple dozen dollars if you want that. If you don't have a pull-up bar, I really recommend getting one for your doorway anyway. It's just a couple dozen dollars too. You can always use a door frame. Just grab the door frame and then lean back. Lean into it and you'll basically be able to replicate the same stretch. You can grab higher too. You could also do that on like stairway railing and just stretch. There are plenty of ways to get this same effect without having to have a real pull-up bar. I'll show you a few more advanced hanging exercises that you can try if you feel up to it. You can practice this one arm release. If you have monkey bars around you, feel free to just practice this by basically swinging on the monkey bars. And make sure you keep your elbow straight So all the movement is really happening at the shoulder joint. Also practice switching your grip each time. You can also allow the bar to rotate your shoulder and stretch it for more angles. You can also practice something called a scapular pull-up, where you're in the passive hang, but then you also practice, it's basically like a reverse shrug. Get your shoulders down away from your ears, and that'll help strengthen some of the musculature around your scapula and help stabilize your shoulders more. One more thing you can try is this hanging arch, where you go back, keep your arms straight, and really lean back. It's kind of like a straight arm pull down, or if you know what a front lever is, it's a progression to developing the front lever. A few conditions where you don't want to practice the hanging exercise is if your shoulder is prone to being dislocated, if you have really loose ligaments, you probably don't want to try this. Also, if you have severe osteoporosis in this area, probably don't try this. What Dr. Kirsch recommends is practicing the hanging protocol for 10 to 15 minutes a day if you really need to, in 10 to 15 second segments. Some of you have probably seen my older videos about inversion therapy with the yoga trapeze or with the inversion table. Some people are uncomfortable with being inverted, and there are more conditions where you shouldn't invert yourself. But hanging is a really great way, probably the best and most natural way, to actually decompress your spine and create more space for those intervertebral discs and prevent intervertebral disc injuries and shortening over time from your spine being so compressed and other back injuries and back problems. So definitely use hanging for your spine health as well. One more thing to really strengthen the musculature around your shoulder joint, Dr. Kirsch recommends this weightlifting protocol, where you take a light weight, relatively about 1 to 8 pounds, depending on your strength level, and you're gonna do shoulder flexion with a straight arm with your palm down. Here's the front raise. You're gonna try to get as much shoulder flexion here as you can. And the reason you want your palm down is because the same reason you want to keep your hands pronated while you're hanging. It just helps get you a little bit more range of motion. The lateral raise here, palm down as well, go all the way up. Straight arm, keep your arm locked. And then the shoulder extension. Extension is when you go behind the body. Palm down, and with a straight arm, go as high as you can. You can do this as often as you hang, and you want to aim for 30 to 45 repetitions. So it's a lot of reps, so make sure you choose a weight appropriate for that rep range. And that'll really help strengthen the musculature around your shoulder. And ideally do this after you've already hung, so the shoulder has been stretched out and there's a bit more mobility there. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to like and subscribe and comment below any other subjects you'd like me to cover for you guys. And please share this video with someone in your life that you think could use better shoulder health, because really there are so many people around the world who are suffering from shoulder injuries and shoulder problems, and it's really unnecessary. It's totally preventable, well, for the most part. All you have to do is take a little bit better care of your shoulders. Just hang some more and do a little bit more intelligent weightlifting for your shoulders. Remember guys, I've been working with Draper City for over a year now to try and get them to build a calisthenics park in our city. And if we got that, we'd have more places to hang and take better care of our shoulders. So I'll put the link in the description to the petition that you can sign if you haven't signed it yet. We're almost at 500 signatures, and really, we should get there already. We need that park. Take better care of your shoulders, and remember, you have a choice. Choose to be fit.